Good morning, my babies. It is time once again for the starting lineup. My good friend Kip Keefer. I am Tony Curry. We do the show every single Saturday morning from 10:30, 11 o'clock, talking all kinds of great sports. And then some other stuff as well. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. SEC.
The SEC, of course, baseball tournament's going on.
Yeah, man, I'm excited
as we
about
speak.
that.
That thing is, that's pretty much the national championship game right there.
I think they've got 6 teams in the top 11 right now. They're all going to be in Hoover. This is one of the first years, I don't know if they started this last year, all 16 teams will be here.
Yep.
Remember, it used to be you had to be in like the top 10, but now it's single elimination, so every game matters, and can't wait to get that started. That's going to be some fantastic baseball.
Well, we 14 for 16 in basketball, and now we're 16 for 16 in baseball. Everyone gets a shot to play and get after it. Speaking of baseball, I was living up near Mason, Ohio back in the early 80s, and we were hitting some softballs in the slow pitch cage. A friend of mine came up and said, man, you need to go down to the last cage, the 95-mile-an-hour cage, and I couldn't believe who's down there. So we walked down there, and again, this was 1983, 84. And there in the back left-hand corner, all by himself, was Peter Edward Rose, who was in the 95-mile-an-hour fast pitch cage. And on either wire, the guide wires went out almost like a pyramid. There were pieces of 8 by 10 pieces of white paper every 3 feet down the line, about 30 to 45 feet down both sides. He would go and say, number 3 on the right, number 8 on the left, number 12 on the right, and we'd just go back and forth, and we'd be able to hit those pieces of paper
like
out of the jugs gun, out of target shooting. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen by a baseball player at all, and now it appears that all of his hard work will pay off.
Well, I guess it's going to pay off. He's not going to be here to enjoy it, of course. I was really moved last year when the HBO did a whole 6-part story on Pete Rose and this whole odyssey of his banishment from baseball and all the bringing you up to date on every aspect and every twist and turn of the story. And Pete Rose, just about 6 months before he passed away, said, well, it's pretty obvious now, they're not going to put me in until I die.
Yep.
And those are words that were ringing in my ears when I saw this week, baseball has magnanimously reinstated Pete Rose. Now he's eligible for the Hall of Fame. They were not going to let. What's the difference now, Tony? Have they completely changed their opinion? Why couldn't they have done that this time last year when he was still alive?
Well, his family said it best. He said it was a lifetime banishment, and he no longer has a life.
Yeah.
So that lifetime banishment is over, and it does appear. If you go to Cooperstown, and you and I are talking about maybe going up there in 2028 to see the enshrinement, because he sure as heck's going to get in the first time around, along with Shoeless Joe Jackson. But, if you go up there, he's already in the Hall of Fame. I mean, there's a whole enshrinement of him. He's just not in the Hall of Fame.
He's not inducted.
So let me ask you this. Since Peter Edwards in, Shoeless Joe Jackson's in, and it's funny because
Joe Jackson, he died 70 years ago, but they had to put him in there so it wouldn't just all be Pete.
When will the steroid era guys get a chance to get in, or will they ever?
It's funny how the politics of baseball are. If you go back and read the classic baseball book, Ball 4, which was by Jim Bouton, who was a pitcher for the Yankees and the Seattle Pilots, who became the Milwaukee Brewers. Anyway, he revealed all kinds of things that were going on. It was the first tell-all book. What goes on in the locker room stays in the locker room. Jim Bouton blew the cover off all of that with his Ball 4 books, and he talked about the rampant amphetamine use of Major League Baseball players, speed and uppers.
And let me tell you something. We had Mike Schmidt on our show several years ago. There was always a green pot of coffee and a red pot of coffee.
Absolutely.
That's been going on since the teens.
Yeah.
They always knew if they wanted to get jacked up a little bit, they knew what to drink out of. Go ahead.
So, the steroid era was what it was. But I don't think that these guys that had all these exemplary accomplishments, it doesn't need to be credited. The end of Barry Bonds' career, yes, definitely. He was juiced up big time. But, this guy was a 5-tool player early in his career when he was a tall, lanky kid. Yeah. I don't think you can penalize these guys forever for something that was actually not even not even banned until the later years of their careers. When Roger Clemens was involved, that's when they were getting a little older and they needed an edge to keep playing. But what these guys accomplished in the early parts of their career and what their statistical history is, I'm against banning people for steroid use because there's been abuses going on in every sport forever.
3 or 4 of the greatest years in Major League Baseball, when you had Sammy Sosa, you had Mark McGwire, and you had Bonds going back and back and back, and they just beat each other up every single day. It went all the way down to the end of the season. It was unbelievable. I never thought I'd see a guy hitting 70 dingers in a year, but we saw it, and I saw it with my own eyes, and it's still hard to hit a round ball with a round bat for sure. Speaking of getting around a little bit, Nick Saban was out this past week at the Pro-Am, the region's tradition. Of course, he loves to get out there and play some golf, and he's enjoying his ESPN, a second career, if you will. And the question came to him a couple days ago, would you entertain the idea of being the commissioner of the NCAA or this brand new college football thing that we're talking about? What's your thoughts?
Well, already, because he came down to Tuscaloosa for graduation 2 weeks ago and introduced President Trump, they had a chance to chat, and now next thing you know, old Nick is the co-chair of the brand new presidential committee on college sports and NIL. So he's already kind of wading in that direction. And a lot of people have speculated that he'd be an ideal choice to be the guy to maybe be the reformer and get some sanity into this situation. But Tony, I just fear Pandora's box has been flung open far too much. I don't know if Nick Saban or the second coming of the man upstairs would be able to save this situation, because the problem is any kind of reform you try to impose, you're going to have lawsuits like crazy. People saying you're violating my rights and taking away the free market and capitalism and free enterprise. I just don't know if this could be stuffed back in the bottle. I think it may be too late.
What concerns me, there's no way to stuff it back in the bottle. It is what it is. What concerns me now is there's no reason why this cannot happen in high school. There's no reason it can't happen in grade school. There's no reason why our little league teams, we already have sponsorships. The Pizza Hut down the road sponsors our 4-year-olds, right?
Absolutely.
There's no reason why high school kids shouldn't be getting paid to play ball. They should be.
Missouri started this because they were about the only state that had it was legal. Luther Burden, who just got drafted in the NFL after a 3-year career at Missouri, he started getting checks from Missouri in 10th grade. Yeah. Can you imagine being a 10th grader and you go to your mailbox and, oh, that's pretty good. I got a $500,000 check here. It's completely out of control. It's ridiculous, and it's got to be there's got to be some kind of sanity put into it, because right now, unlike the NFL, and people say, well, it's just like pro football. No, it's not. In pro football, you sign a contract and you are property of that team throughout the life of that contract. In college, if somebody makes you mad on a Tuesday, you can theoretically be putting on a different uniform on Saturday and playing somewhere else. It's completely insane.
It's like giving the president a $400 million plane or something.
Well, like he says, Sam Snead taught him, the great golfer, if somebody gives you a putt, you pick it up and go to the next tee.
If it's inside the leather, my friend, it is a good putt. We only have a couple minutes here. We got a full show today, of course. We got the legend going to the cave, Case Kiefer, the picks from the desert. We're going to get after it, but I do have to ask you about the second jewel in the crown, the Preakness, coming up. Super excited. Journalism is going to be running, but your big horse, Sovereignty, of course, that won the Derby,
we're not going to see for 3 more weeks until the Belmont. They've decided that's best for the horse. And I'm all for what's best for the horse, Tony. But what's best for the sport of horse racing is not skipping the second leg of the Triple Crown. It's really a shame that we live in an era where that's going on. Amazingly, until just about 7 or 8 years ago, Visa, I think, was the sponsor, the credit card company. If you competed in all 3 legs of those, you got a big bonus.
Yep.
And if you won all 3, there was a $1.5 million bonus, which now sounds like small change when you're paying your third string safety $1.5 million. Yeah. But amazingly, in that era, nobody skipped the Preakness.
No.
Go figure.
Yeah, go figure. Go figure, too. This show is fantastic.
Monty Ballard's going to join us in the last segment. We're going to give you the picks and how to play the Preakness today.
Absolutely. It's coming up here next on the starting lineup.
The Birmingham Racecourse Casino turns dreams into reality. Like Roger M., who just won over $51,000. And Rebecca, celebrating a life-changing jackpot of $160,000. You could be the next to dance the Ickey Shuffle with a big win.
Woo! I'm a winner! I'm a winner! Woo! I'm a winner! I'm a winner! Woo! And you can be a winner too!
Don't miss your chance to be our next big winner at the Birmingham Racecourse Casino.
Oh, welcome to the Legend Cave. There's Monty Bauer with the best pass of the season, looking like Dan Marino on there. I got the great man Kip Keeper in here in the Legend Cave where few men have ever stood. I'm talking about the great Paul Feinbaum. You know him, does the Feinbaum Show every week, the greatest sportsman of all time, Mr. Feinbaum. Taylor Hicks been in here, Mick Jagger, Ronnie Van Zant, Tony Curry, and now the great Kip Keeper, who's been, he's like family. He's in here every week. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, it's question and answer week, one of your favorite segments. And this week, I see the teleprompter is up there already. The first question comes from Big Bertha over in Nauvoo, Alabama. I know Big Bertha. She likes to be called out. We love the big women here. We love you, big ladies. We love you. Big Bertha wants to know, what does the legend think about Nick Saban possibly going to Washington? Let me get your answer right quick, Kipper, before I give mine.
All I can say is Nick Saban, the ultimate control guy. Good luck controlling Washington, Nick.
I'll say this right here, Nick. When Tommy Tuberville comes to Alabama to be governor, you take his senator seat, and in 2028, Nick Saban for president, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling it right here. Clap, clap. Everybody knows it. Well, one man that can truly bring back America again, other than President Trump, would be the great Nick Saban. That's what I say, Big Bertha. I'll be down there for some cornbread and pintos later on in the week. Bear said he appreciated the pintos you sent him last week, Big Bertha. We love you, all you Walker County folks. Now the next question comes from David Legend. David Legend getting back into questions.
Oh, man.
We love you, David. We love the David Legend. He wants to know, is 8.5 win total too much for the Tennessee Volunteers? He wants to make a future bet.
Oh, boy. With Aguilar, the transfer quarterback from Appalachian State, instead of Nico, who was going to be the great savior. The great savior only stayed for one season. 8.5, the schedule's pretty tough. They have to come to Tuscaloosa this year. I think David's right to be a little wary of that.
Now, David Legend, I know you've been knowing you all my life. You shouldn't even ask a question like that, David Legend. You already know the answer. Tennessee wasn't that good with Nico. Now that Nico's gone, 8.5, I think it's more 6.5. Now, David Legend said his friend Billy wants to know about Alabama. They got Alabama at 9.5 win total. I don't know, Kipper. What do you think?
Well, you and me and Tony last week predicted the schedule, and the minimum for all three of us was 10. So 9.5. Bet it and forget it.
Yeah, I'm with the Kipper right here. I like Alabama to go 11-1 this season. I think the schedule is easier than people think. I think Tennessee is not that good. I think LSU is starting 15 players for the first time in the history of their program. Even though they're talented, I don't think they're a problem. I think this Alabama team is loaded. I'm going to have to apologize to Coach DeBoer at least 100 times this year. I hope I don't have to run him out, but I think Alabama's going to have a great year. Now, our final question, Kipper. Our final question is about the Auburn Tigers. I hear you, Bear. I hear you. I don't know how I got on the prompter. But they want to know about the Auburn Tigers. 7.5 win total. Do you like? I like Auburn over 7.5, Kipper.
I'm not a Hugh Freeze guy. I don't think I think the game has kind of passed him by. He's blaming all the last couple seasons on everybody else. It's going to be on him this year. I don't know if Jackson Arnold is the answer at quarterback. I don't know. So I'm going to say right about 7 wins, but 7.5, that's stretching it.
Yeah, I like this 7.5. I don't like nothing about Auburn. I don't like the 7.5. I'm going under. Nothing at Auburn. I hear you, Bear. Remember, it's just a game. Don't be like Kipper and the Legend.
Sports
insane.
Getting down to the nitty-gritty in the NHL and NBA playoffs, of course, you go to K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com. You'll see, of course, Kai Greger. You'll see Case Kiefer. You'll see Kip Kiefer. You'll see Tony Curry. That's the 4Ks. We do some handicapping, and we're pretty doggone good. We'll give you some more details about that coming up here in a few seconds. But Kai Greger, of course, with SBS, Southern Precision Staffing, they do wonderful work, man. If you're looking for staff workers or you're into skill work, if you're a welder, man, you can be making some serious jack every single hour by working for SBS. Give them a call, 205-682-2828, 205-682-2828, Southern Precision Staffing. They're right here in Hoover, Alabama. They serve the United States of America just like the starting lineup does. And, of course, your word and your handshake still means something. Also, don't forget our good friends, the Woodhouse Day Spa. Stuart Rome, good friend. Got to get him back in here. Got to get you in there to get yourself a full-body massage, get you a rub down just in time for college football season.
I don't have as much body to massage.
Yeah, I know, right? You should get a half-price shot or something. Go to Birmingham.WoodhouseSpas.com, Birmingham.WoodhouseSpas.com. They do wonderful work, 905-7676. Now, to K4 Wins. Doing pretty well, my friend.
En fuego. We are rolling right along. We've been really good in the playoffs. We give you some baseball information every day. We'll have our Preakness information for this week's horse race up. And we are really just kind of gearing up, Tony, because football season's where we really excel. Case out in the desert. Kai has been doing this for a long, long time. Tony Curry has a long, storied career in sports radio, ESPN, and of course here on Jocks 94.5. And I know a thing or two about sports and handicapping. So I'm telling you, if you like sports betting, that's great. But sports betting's a lot more fun when you're winning, and we are picking against the spread at about a 67 or 68% clip. So we are making it happen if you want to win.
That's over the course of a year and a half, by the way. Yeah. And all of our stuff is documented. You can go back and look at our stuff,
on the website.
All you want to do. And we're talking about women's sports. We're talking about softball, SEC baseball games.
Yep, we'll have a lot of information on that.
So we got a little bit of everything, so check it out.
So TKR, download the app and don't miss our podcast weekly every single week. And one shameless plug before we go.
Yes.
I will be on Tuesday morning, 10 to 2 on Talk 99.5. I'll be sitting in for Andrew McLean. I will have all of my news and politics views. Do not miss it. Kip Kiefer on the radio, 99.5 on Tuesday.
K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com. Check it out right here from the starting lineup.
Hey, it's Case Kiefer back again. I'm the assistant sports editor for Greenspun Media Group, which includes Las Vegas Sun and Las Vegas Weekly. Longtime sports bettor and sports betting writer. Thanks for joining me for another edition of the Vegas Heaters. A big week, one that we have been working up to. When it's not football season, I try to keep it real in here and talk about all that I'm betting that works with our time. And golf is one of my biggest bet sports. We've been building up the PGA Championship portfolio. Now I know we're 2 rounds underway at the time you're watching this. I'm recording before we've teed off. You got my whole card. I'm hoping some of those guys are doing well. I will say I'm glad I snuck Bryson DeChambeau at the end of last week. I bet him 15-1. I didn't know at the time I was going to be the first of about 5,000 people. It seems like everyone is touting him this week. I think people saw that he is having a historic season with the driver, which should pair well here. I would say normally I'd be a little bit worried when this many people are on him, and who knows, maybe by the time you're watching this, he's out of it. He didn't make the cut. That's certainly within the realm of possibilities. I said lock in 12-1 or better, so I'm comfortable with that. I wouldn't be betting him at like plus 650, 7-1 that he closed. But anyways, back to the point, I would be worried typically if just everyone was on him, but I will say there's some indicators that this is real. To me, you look at the sharpest books in the world, the books that are taking the biggest bets, he's even lower there than he is at these recreational books. So it means the people that are informed, the people that are doing this at the highest level, also like Bryson DeChambeau. So we're not just joining the whole chorus. It's not just a group hug of all the public bettors. I think that there is some real momentum here. And that brings me to what I really wanted to talk about this week. If you've watched long enough, you know that I'm already getting my major bets in long ahead of time, looking ahead to the next one. And this week before the PGA, I focused on next month's U.S. Open. I'd already given out 2 plays here. I believe we're on Colin Morikawa, 25-1, and Scottie Scheffler, plus 550. Now, taking as low as Scottie Scheffler at a price like that kind of limits of what you can do elsewhere. But I did add 2 more bets this week, and I think my portfolio is done. We're a month ahead of time, and I think I have my U.S. Open outrights done. I'm going to share the final 2 I made with you. Maybe I'll sprinkle some long shots as we get closer, but I think these prices are going to be gone, and it's why I rambled about Bryson DeChambeau so long, because I did bet Bryson DeChambeau a big major sports book available nationally had him 13-1 going into the U.S. Open at Oakmont. I mean, that is just dead wrong. You see him closing 7-1 plus 650 here at the PGA Championship. You're going to go to an Oakmont course that arguably could fit him even better. Seems like it's going to play a lot like Winged Foot in 2020 when Bryson just bombed and gouged his way to a 6-stroke victory. So I really wanted to get on Bryson DeChambeau for the U.S. Open at 13-1. I think anything double digits, you can still probably jump on it now. The books are slow to update these things just because a lot of people aren't betting this far in advance. So for the U.S. Open, I added to my Scheffler Morikawa positions with Bryson DeChambeau and the final guy, a little bit of a long shot, a guy I have no exposure on this week except for in matchup markets. That is Patrick Cantlay at 42-1 to win the U.S. Open. Another grinder that does really well on these tough type courses, and you're hearing some buzz that Oakmont might be as tough as ever in the U.S. Open. So I went with Patrick Cantlay. That's who I've got in the U.S. Open. I know it's a month from now, but look, you're getting the best prices. You're beating the market if you can go ahead and lock those in now. So again, Scheffler, DeChambeau, Morikawa, Cantlay, that's who we're rolling with next month at the U.S. Open. A little bit of a shorter segment this week, so I thought I'd just talk about golf, but why not throw in one more thing? I know the other topical thing, the NFL schedule release this year. Now, I was one of the guys that doesn't like tying up my money if it's like minus 110, pick-em type things. I'll tie up my money gladly if it's futures with that big payout. I've kind of changed my tune the last couple years with NFL Week 1 that starts trickling out now. Just I think the market is not very sharp. I don't even know where the books come up with some of these numbers. I've really crushed NFL Week 1 the last couple years by betting way ahead of time, and I've got one for you right away. The opening game of the year, Eagles-Cowboys. I already laid it with the Eagles, minus 6.5, a decent-sized bet. I've been Mr. Cowboy. I've been on the Cowboys a lot these last few years. It's worked well in the regular season. However, I think that they're crashed back down to earth last year. I can't possibly get this number below 7.5. When you are betting this far out, there's always a little bit of worry with injury and things that could happen of that nature. But 6.5 is just wrong. So if you've got to scratch that NFL itch, Eagles minus 6.5. Go Philadelphia. Go Bryson DeChambeau. Thanks for joining me once again.
Second jewel in the crown, it is the Triple Crown. Of course, that second leg is being the Preakness before they mow down Pimlico. They got a big old horse race to run going this weekend. Kip Keefer along with another man who knows his horses, Monty Ballard. We're here to look at the Preakness.
I think this is the last race, isn't it?
It is the last race.
For Pimlico.
The last
before
race
they,
out there.
Before they
the
tear it
Pimlico as
down.
we know it. They're going
As we
to
know it,
completely remodel. They're going to knock down the old grandstand. I was
Old
there
Hilltop.
in 2011. This is the last Preakness I attended, and it needed to be done 15 years ago, so they're finally getting around to it.
And unlike, having 20 horses in this particular race, what do we have, 6?
Nine.
It's just 9.
So it's up to 9. So it's a little bit different. And I know sometimes having that many horses, if you go into it, and you did such a great job telling people how to bet this race. You had Sovereignty, and of course you took that one horse or that 2 horse, and you said just mix and match with all kinds of different things. And no matter how you mixed and matched it, you were going to be a winner chicken dinner. But now, of course, with just having 9 horses, perhaps you can really do some homework, some handicapping. What are you guys seeing? Monty, I'll start with you.
Well, I hate to do it, but I'm going to have to go with journalism. I mean, I just don't like to always pick the favorite, but journalism is so strong. He always runs a good race.
He ran well in the Derby.
He ran a great race.
He was leader. He was a leader, coming down the stretch. And then Sovereignty is a monster too. So Sovereignty's not there. I expect journalism to lay off a little bit, maybe be in 3rd, 4th, 5th position, and then coming down, he just goes right to the front. And then I like Sandman. Sandman ran in the Derby. I like Sandman to come up. And another horse, a shooter called Clever Again. So I like those 3 horses: Journalism, Clever Again, and Sandman.
By the way, a little band called Metallica played Blacksburg a week ago last Wednesday.
Right.
They had a 4.9 earthquake when Sandman started playing.
played.
They moved the music around and actually opened the show with that place in Blacksburg. And the stadium almost came down like when the Rolling Stones played Legion Field. You were on Sovereignty. Of course, that horse not running, Kip. Who do you like now?
Well, I mean, you got to like journalism, but I just can't pick the favorite. I would be violating my sacred oath to always try to be a counter agent on the logical. I do think there's one horse in the race that I think has the credentials to beat him, and he's going to have to lead it pretty much wire to wire to do it. It is Hall of Famer Todd Pletcher's horse, number 6, River Thames, and it is Thames. I heard a commentator, probably making $400,000 or $500,000 a year, they call him River Thames. Good grief. Get a geography book, dude. River Thames, number 6, Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz on board, who is absolutely the best jockey in the world right now. I think that's a powerful combination. I think journalism is going to run big. In fact, I am going to go on record right here and saying that it's River Thames in journalism, and then everybody else. And there's 9 horses. It's those 2 and the 7 dwarfs in this race. I'm going to go ahead and declare it an ice cold lock. 2-6 or 6-2. That's the way it's going to run. And the way I'm going to play it is I'm going to play 2-6 on first place on the trifecta, 2-6 second, and we're going to hope for the longest of long shots to run third. 2-6, 2-6 all. So if the 2 and 6 are the first 2 finishers and you got the all horse, you never lose in that third spot because the all horse always comes on the board.
You get a chance too, man, to check out some wonderful racing that goes on throughout. A lot of people don't realize, because of the Oaks and everything that happens at the Kentucky Derby. I mean, it's a roll up. They have these things called chow wagons in Louisville, Kentucky, where they take parking lots and they just put a fence up around. They put a band in it and start selling beer, and people sit in there for 7 days straight and they don't work all week. It's called chow wagons every time. So that goes all the way up into the Kentucky Derby. But the day of racing on the Derby day is good. What's going on at Pimlico the rest of the day outside the actual Preakness race itself? Is it a good day of racing? What goes on there?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it's a great day of racing.
Yeah.
They've got 15 races. 15. The Preakness is race number 13, so they've got beautiful races all up into it.
And the festive atmosphere, the infield party in Baltimore is probably even better than the famous one in Kentucky at Churchill Downs. The Pimlico infield is legendary for their blowouts. Those people, it's like going to a concert.
Yeah.
And then they have the Black Eyed Susan on
Friday.
Friday, which is similar to the Kentucky Oaks, and that's for fillies.
I know you're not supposed to look ahead, but have you looked at the Belmont at all? Of course, the longest race out of the 3.
Yeah, the Belmont's going to be loaded. You've got all the horses that like Sovereignty and other horses that are maybe geared more for that distance. The Belmont is the most demanding test. It's 1.5 miles. It's a lot longer than all the others. Belmont track is the only 1.5 mile circumference track operating in the country.
But remember, Noah, it's at Aqueduct.
Well, that's true.
But it is something that.
Okay, so they are.
So it's going
because
to be.
last year was at Saratoga.
Pardon me. It is at Saratoga.
Okay,
That's right.
Well,
correct.
I'm mistaken then.
Yeah, it's at Saratoga. That's
so
right.
it'll only be 1.25 miles if it's at Saratoga.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning back on 50 years of history. But Monty's right because Belmont has been under renovation for several years.
They're under renovation,
just like
so-
Pimlico is going to be after this week.
That's
So
correct.
I had a question. Some people look at the jockeys, how tall they are. Sometimes they look at the color of their pants. Sometimes they look and see if the horses took a dump before it runs. And then, of course, they look at the names. A horse called Pay Billy. I had a question from a friend of mine. Said, please ask your experts about Pay Billy. Billy, don't be a hero. Pay Billy, get a shot?
Pay Billy.
He's got a shot maybe to not run last if another horse pulls up and doesn't finish.
He's a fast horse, but he's not as fast as others.
He is run against. It's almost like if you're playing like American Legion ball tomorrow and you get called up and you get an at bat in the major leagues, you gotta consider where they're coming from. I looked at Hey Billy's credentials and I said, Hey Billy, you shouldn't be
Pay
here.
Billy.
Yeah.
Pay Billy is one of those that at least the owners get to go and sit in a nice box and enjoy the day.
And
that's
Monty
what it's
mentioned
about.
Sandman because one of his owners was a social media gigantic $4 million follower guy. He had so much documentation and all kinds of different information on Sandman. Sandman went off the second favorite in the Derby and did not have the credentials to be that.
That was
So
correct.
that's how much influence is out there.
Yeah.
And there's so much casual money in these races. If you're a serious player, you got a chance to
You got
cash
to
in.
cash in big because a lot of people are just betting colors and names.
And names and
So it's good.
You know,
Metallica.
journalism and the 2-6-6-2-2-6.
That's
Take
what
it,
I
slice
like.
and dice and get after it. This is the starting lineup. Thank you so much for watching. We're back at you next Saturday morning right here on ABC 3340.